We're back for another episode of Mac Stories Unwind, the show that's all about the picks. Federico Viticci, how are you today?
I am doing fantastic, and this episode is about the picks, sure, but it's more about a surprise.
I wasn't even sure how to introduce this episode, Federico, because
let me put it this way.
You've told me nothing.
This episode is about a theme that will make more picks possible in the future.
Interesting.
This is a moment in Federico history, if you will,
Okay.
that is a turning point that will make for sure more unwind picks possible in the future.
Did you watch Star Wars?
No. Why?
I don't know. That seems like a monumental thing to announce on the show since you never have.
Well, no.
I'm not going to guess anymore. I'm not going to do 20 questions.
Oh, no, you're never going to see this coming. There's only one, Sylvia knows, obviously, and there's only one other person who knows what I've done.
Okay, what have you done?
So before we get to that, we need to provide some context, I think. So as of this moment, as of right now, we're still living in a small apartment where space is at a premium. Space is limited. You've been here, John. You know that I don't have a ton of space for having a proper home office or having, the kind of personal studio and desk that I would like to have. So I've always been on the lookout for compact devices and things that do not take up a ton of space. I have a small desk that doesn't have a ton of depth to it either. We have a 55-inch TV in the bedroom, but that's the only big TV that we can use here because we don't have that space anywhere else. So I've always been very much into optimizing space as much as possible and trying to find devices that fit our space. Now, this is fun. So
I have no idea where this is going.
You have no idea where this is going. So for the past few months, if you've been following the kind of content that I've talked about here on Unwind and Remaster as well, I've been talking about the AIA Neo portable console, right? And this Windows-based handheld that lets you play Windows games, lets you run Windows on a Switch-like form factor. And this has been a really great experiment. I saw it initially as preparation for the Steam Deck, which is the upcoming. Also, it's more of a Linux-based console, but it's the same idea. It's like a Nintendo Switch form factor that lets you play Steam, PC games. But using the AIA Neo, in addition to being, preparation and research for the Steam Deck, has also been very eye-opening for me in terms of using Windows as a platform. At the same time, I've also mentioned on App Stories, which is our other podcast, and I've wrote about it on the club, the two Intel NUCs that I've set up over the past couple of years. I got the first Intel NUC during the lockdown of 2020, and I got a second Intel NUC for our, for Sylvia's apartment in Viterbo that we can use as a home server. So really, over the past 2 years, I've become more accustomed to Windows, which is an operating system that I hadn't used in a long time, right?
Sure.
Now, using the AIA Neo, playing games with the AIA Neo, obviously it's not a powerful console, right? It uses a mobile Ryzen APU. It's basically a system on a chip with integrated graphics. It lets you play, I talked about doing things like Metroid, emulation with Dolphin, playing games from Xbox Game Pass. But obviously, it's not a powerful computer. So, some time ago, John, I started doing a lot of research.
Yeah.
And I started saving money because I like to treat myself every once in a while.
Well, we do know that.
With things I like.
Yes.
And things that I like that can potentially open up new professional avenues for me in the future. So, John, I got myself a pretty sweet gaming PC.
You did? Wow. I had a feeling there for a second that might be what you're going to say.
But it's not a PC I built myself.
Okay.
It's an all-in-one compact gaming PC that is
Interesting.
about the size of an Xbox Series X. It's a
Really?
it's a mini tower, all-in-one compact gaming PC with some incredible specs. So,
Who makes it?
okay, it's the Corsair One
Okay.
i300.
All right.
Now, the price tag is scary on this thing, okay?
Okay.
But to give you some specs, this thing has the Intel i9, the Alder Lake CPU. It's the 12900K.
Okay.
But the reason I got this, well, a couple of reasons. It's got this model has 32 gigs of RAM and it came with Windows 11 Pro pre-installed. And the reason I got it, this is an all-in-one compact PC with an NVIDIA RTX 3080 Ti GPU.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the 3080 Ti, this is one of those unfindable GPUs right now.
It is. Is this thing like a space heater too? I mean, this must throw off a lot of heat.
I'll get to that.
Okay.
I'll get to that. This is it's got the 3080 Ti. I've done research for this in secret because I knew that I was going to do like a big, surprise, like show off and, do a special episode of something, in the future. So I did all of this in secret. I got help and advice, however, from Mike Hurley. Mike also kept this a secret from you.
Oh, I see. I knew you were about to say there's one other person. That's about the only person I would think you would probably go to for advice on this because he knows this stuff well. Yeah.
And I explained to Mike, look, I want to play PC games with the highest possible settings, with the highest possible graphic settings.
Mm-hmm.
I want to have a high-end Windows PC. I don't want to say that I don't care about the price. I'm saying that I've been saving for it. And it was a deliberate expense for something that's going to last me a few years. And then when I'm done with it, I can easily resell or maybe find a way to upgrade. And I'll also get to that in a moment.
All right.
So I was talking to Mike and we were talking about like, what are your requirements? And I told him, look, I knew that I don't have the space for a gaming PC. I literally do not have.
Yeah, you don't have a place to put a tower or anything.
I don't have a place to put a tower. There's no space for it in my bedroom. There's no space for it anywhere.
Somebody would have to move out of your apartment in order to make room for that.
The one space that I found, however, an empty space that I found was behind my TV.
Oh, behind the one in the bedroom? Or
behind the 4K TV in the bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
So I put these two things together, right? I was looking for a PC that will let me play and I'm talking like playing all games with the maximum settings turned on.
Sure.
And this GPU is the one that lets you do that. This lets you do ray tracing, 4K, 60 plus frames per second.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah.
The 3080 Ti is more powerful than the standard 3080. Now, I don't want to get into the specs of all this, but it's basically a bit less powerful than the 3090. The 3080 Ti came out in June 2021. It's impossible to find as a standalone GPU on Amazon at the moment because unfortunately, people use GPUs to mine Bitcoin and stuff like that. I am never going to do any of that. I just wanted to have a GPU for gaming. I wanted to have a proper GPU for gaming. Sure. And if I want to do this, I wanted to do this right. I wanted to future-proof my setup and be like, I want to play Crysis Remastered at 4K and 100 frames per second with ray tracing turned on. I want to play, Red Dead Redemption 2 with 4K, 60 frames per second stable, and ray tracing enabled. I don't care. I want to have a machine that I'm going to throw games at it, and it's just going to go.
Yep.
And this thing is incredible.
Really? When did you get this? When did this arrive?
So I got this about a month ago.
Okay, wow. You've been keeping this secret for a while then.
Oh, well, it's been going for a while. So, but I mentioned the TV, right?
Yeah,
so, I installed this. This is a very compact mini tower. It's really, I'm looking at it again from sort of behind the TV. It's really about the size of an Xbox Series X. It's tall form factor. It's heavy, right? It's a heavy
I bet
piece
it's
of
probably
equipment.
dense.
It's very dense. It's, as the kids would say, it's an absolute unit of a computer.
Yeah.
It's very heavy and dense, and it looks, I mean, it's all, visually speaking, it's cool. It's got these RGB lights, on the front. Corsair, they do this kind of stuff.
Sure.
It's fun, but it was the perfect size for the back of my TV. So I started using this computer with an HDMI cable, going from the computer to the back of my TV. And I got myself one of those Logitech keyboards that have an integrated trackpad so that I could use Windows from the bed. I could lay in bed and use Windows on the 4K TV sitting 4 meters away from me.
All right.
And so I got one of those keyboards that lets me do, I don't have to have a separate mouse. It's an integrated Bluetooth keyboard that lets me control it all from the computer and from the bed. And then, of course, when you play games, whether it's, a game you've locally installed or something from Steam or something from Xbox, they switch over to 4K, to full screen, and the computer detects the resolution of the external monitor, the monitor being my TV, and it adjusts settings to do native 4K.
So it handles running on a TV just fine then?
Oh, totally fine. It's like having a console, but it's not a console, it's a PC, right? So the performance of this computer is, with that price tag, right? We're talking just a little less than 5,000 euros. The performance of that device is incredible. The 3080 Ti, I have been able to play games like Crysis Remastered, which is a, very graphically intensive game at 4K, 60 frames per second, stable, 60 frames per second, stable, never dropping a single frame with ray tracing enabled.
Wow.
I've been playing Red Dead Redemption 2 at 4K with ray tracing, and it was hitting like 75, 80 frames per second.
Wow. Have you tried Elden Ring on it yet?
I have been playing Elden Ring on it. I'll get to that in a minute.
I figured you were holding out on me on that one.
I've been playing Halo Infinite at 4K with 120 degree field of view.
Right.
With ultra settings for everything. Like it's like when you go to the graphics options for
you just turn them all the way to the right.
Turn them all, ultra. And it stays to like 80, 90 frames per second.
Wow, that's amazing.
It's incredible.
That's incredible.
Now, this computer, it's got the liquid cooling system built in.
Okay, I would have thought it would be liquid, yeah.
Yeah.
Because it probably is throwing off a lot of heat.
It's throwing off a lot of heat, but it also has a lot of fans at the top, right? And it's got this heat sink with these fins that are putting off heat and air.
Is it loud?
But here's the thing. It's really quiet.
Oh,
good. So you can hear like this faint hum going at night when I'm playing these games. It's not nearly as loud.
It's not like having a ceiling fan in your bedroom or something.
It's not like having a PS5. The PS5 sounds like a jet.
Oh, it's a very loud machine, yeah.
It's a very loud machine. This is about the same noise. It's actually very similar of my Dyson fan when I put it to speed 2 or 3.
Oh, okay.
It's very quiet. You can hear this hum going.
Yeah, just a little bit of background.
It's just a bit of background, and it just doesn't care. It doesn't bother anyone. It doesn't bother Sylvia. And that's the other thing I want to talk about. Bothering Sylvia at night.
Yeah.
So I'm a busy guy. I love my job, and it keeps me busy, and I like to do a ton of things with you, and we have multiple projects going on. My gaming time is at night, really. Occasionally, over the weekend, I may play during the day, but my gaming time is at night. And unfortunately, I have been unable to play games for multiple hours at a time. Again, in this apartment, because I can only play them in the bedroom, because the PS5 and the Xbox are so loud, and the controllers make a clicking noise.
They really do. They're pretty clicky.
Especially the Xbox One. The DualSense is much better, and I'll get to that. And most of all, the light of the TV, like all the the flashing lights and the colors and the playing the game on the TV would bother Sylvia at night. Imagine like everything is like all the lights are blue and dimmed, and Sylvia is trying to sleep, and there's this PS5 taking off like a jet with this giant
strobe
4K
lights basically in the room.
It's just like, can you please not? Like, I want to sleep.
I'm trying to sleep here.
I'm trying to sleep over here. And she's right. Which means I've only been able to really play Nintendo Switch games.
Yeah.
But I don't just want to play Nintendo Switch games. But at the same time, I don't have another place for playing video games, which is the one source of entertainment for me that really, like, I just want to play some video games after I've worked all day.
Yeah.
You know? I think it's a reasonable thing to wish for. So here's where the second part of my purchasing plan comes in. First of all,
this part I think I know about.
Yes. So all of this, by the way, has been hiding in plain sight under your nose for months. Huh. All the Elden Ring screenshots that I've tweeted were taken on PC.
Oh, all right. Okay. All right. Interesting.
So, picture this. You know my bedroom. You see my bedroom.
Yeah.
I'm sitting in bed playing games on the TV. The computer is behind the TV. So the Bluetooth connection isn't great. The Logitech has a special dongle. But the DualSense controller was dropping a lot of like button presses. I tried a separate standalone Bluetooth dongle. The connection was still not strong enough. So I realized, you know what? I don't want to have any latency. I don't care. I have been playing video games with a DualSense. So I got myself a red DualSense controller.
Oh, yeah.
I found,
you post pictures
you've seen
of
the picture of that.
Yeah.
So again, another thing that you've seen.
It's very nice.
Very nice controller. And the DualSense, in my experience, is the quietest controller around. If you have someone sleeping next to you, I cannot recommend the DualSense controller enough. I have tried all of the controllers. The DualSense is the most quiet. It's the quietest one of all of them. It's not silent, but it's okay. I have a 5-meter USB-A to USB-C cable that lets me play games with a DualSense controller wired into my PC. Steam recognizes the PS5 controller, and even better, if you play wired, well, first of all, you don't have any latency.
Yeah.
But second, the controller supports Rumble just fine, but it also supports the audio pass-through, which means I can plug my headphones into the controller.
Right into it. Oh, that's great. Yeah, that's really nice. Plus, it's always charged that way too.
And it's always charged. So when I'm done playing, I just, I take the cable and I roll it up again and I hide it behind the TV, and that's done. But I was still bothering Sylvia with the 55-inch TV at night, right?
Yeah, that's a lot of light.
That's a lot of light. So I did a bunch of research, and I landed on this portable 4K OLED monitor. And a portable, it's 15.6. It's like the size of a 16-inch MacBook, basically. OLED monitor that supports HDR. I don't play with HDR because then Windows is weird when you take screenshots with HDR.
Okay.
But it's OLED. And it's a 550 nits of brightness.
Oh,
it's
good.
made by a company called CForce, and I had to get it from Amazon.com and have it shipped from the US.
I saw you post about this over the weekend, Federico.
Yes.
And the thing that made me scratch my head about it was what I think you're about to say, which is your incredibly long HDMI cable. Maybe.
I got a 5-meter HDMI cable that I can run from the Corsair One from the PC to the monitor. This monitor, unlike other portable monitors that are not OLED, by the way, this has a full-size HDMI port. Other monitors have a mini or micro. Both mini and micro HDMI exists, which is confusing. But this has a full-size HDMI port. It also has USB-C.
Yeah, I think mini and micro don't display as good a picture either.
One of them does. The other doesn't.
Okay, I knew one of them was bad.
One of them has the same 19-pin configuration for the plug. The other doesn't.
Okay.
But this one has a full-size HDMI. So I can use it with my Nintendo Switch or I can use it with my iPad and it's fine. But I can run this cable. So when I play at night, I unroll this cable and I run it, from the back of the TV where the computer is to the portable monitor that I can put on my lap. And I can tell you, John, it's incredible. I can play games at 4K because this is a 4K monitor, OLED. Elden Ring in OLED quality is incredible because it's got a ton of dark areas and caves.
What's the size of it? Again?
15.6 inches.
15. Okay. Oh wow. That distance, that would be really good. You know what? I'm really laughing about this, Federico, because we have both now bought very expensive computers within about a month of each other. I got the Mac Studio last week, and I have a long HDMI cable story myself because when I used to work in my basement, I had an old Mac Mini sitting in a corner far away from me that was headless, except that I think it was more like a 10-meter HDMI cable that I would unfurl and plug into my display on my desk because it was easier than trying to run it headless sometimes. And that's still, I've got that giant HDMI cable because those are chunky cables. They're really thick, and you get those long ones.
But I got a flat one. I was able to find a flat because on this monitor I don't care about HDR and I don't care about 120 hertz refresh rates. Because this is a 60 hertz display. I really honestly, OLED makes a bigger difference than HDR in my opinion.
I bet it does. I bet it does.
OLED, and I didn't care about HDR and I didn't care about 120 hertz. But other cables that supports all the things like 8K, HDR, 120, or maybe even higher, they are chunkier cables. This is a flat one that is also very easy to store and to manage. And I can tell you, two things, ultimately. Mm-hmm. These games, they look incredible. 4K with this quiet, incredibly powerful PC. I've had the best gaming experience, honestly, that I've ever had. I'm very
jealous. Good. I'm very jealous right now. I can imagine, especially with that screen too. Must have been the ice. That's the icing on the cake of the setup.
Yes, but also it's not just the fact that I've had the best gaming experience of my life. Sylvia has had the best sleep she's had in ages.
The best gaming experience of her life too. She's just a gamer by association.
She's been sleeping like a rock.
Oh, that's good. Good for her. I hope she's well rested now.
Yes, she is. And she's like, you know what? You really did solve it with this setup. Now, when we will maybe at some point eventually move, we're going to have a different conversation for this PC. Because if in the future I'm going to have a proper space for me, well, that means I'm going to get myself some of those sweet FreeSync 144 hertz displays for gaming, one of those gaming monitors. But that's a future conversation. For now, I've been playing almost 40 hours of Elden Ring on this thing. I've been playing Halo Infinite. I've tried Crysis Remastered. I'm using Steam again. I'm catching up on Steam. I created my Steam account in 2009.
Yeah. And it just sat there probably a whole bunch of that time, right?
Yeah.
And now now you're back into it. That's amazing.
This is my surprise for you today. So all this, wrap it up like this. Expect from me in the future, maybe on this show, maybe in other places, more coverage of video games and PC games, because now I have a proper gaming PC and I have a proper Steam library and I can play whatever I want.
That's great. I'm excited for you. That's amazing. I'm very jealous. It sounds fantastic. I have been watching my son play Elden Ring. I have not actually dove into it myself, but on a not really current generation TV, I can see where that OLED really sharp screen would make a huge difference, because that game is really dark in places, and unless you've got some really great contrast and good color separation, it can get a little muddy looking sometimes. Well, that's amazing.
Yeah. So that's my story. That's my surprise.
All right. Well, you've always got surprises, Federico. You're good at them. You're good at them. You really are. I had no idea this was coming. I guess it wasn't that you watched Star Wars. I'm going to make you watch Star Wars sometimes. We'll do a special episode someday.
Yeah, we're gonna have to think, John, about all these video games. We got to do something.
We do. You
know, we can talk about video games and unwind, but maybe we can do, you know, I don't know. We'll think about it. You know?
We should think about it. I'm gotta be less of a slacker and get my gaming act together here now. I got a lot to live up to with you. Mm-hmm. You're really showing me up at this point. All right, Federico. Well, that was a good episode. Thanks for the surprise. It really made my day to listen to that. We will be back again, of course, next week. You can find us both writing on MacStories.net. Federico is on Twitter and Instagram, where he is at Viticci. That's VITICCI. Go there to see all these great screenshots he's been taking. I wish I had examined them more closely and tried to figure out if they were actually PC shots or not. And you can find me, too, over on Twitter and Instagram. I'm at John Voorhees. That's JOHNVOORHWS. Talk to you next week, Federico.
Ciao, John.